Hello, I am Pastor Craig Storlie. I am the interim pastor here at Amazing Grace Lutheran Church in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Welcome to the Sunday sermon.
I like to start my sermon time out with a time of centering prayer. And I will guide you through it. It's not very difficult. But simply, I invite you to close your eyes or find a place in front of you to focus, or focus on the candles in the center of us. And as you begin to sit back in your chair and to make certain, at the most, that you breathe easily and comfortably and calmly. And we begin simply by intentionally quieting our hearts and our minds. I invite you to let go of your cares and concerns and worries and fears that you brought to church this morning. Let them go as best you can. And maybe do one step better. Give them to God to take care of. Give them over so that God will take care of them for you, even if only just for a fraction of a second. Give them to God. And as we've quieted our hearts and minds, I invite you, as you breathe in and breathe out, to breathe in God's grace, God's love, God's constant presence, whether we are here in this sanctuary or out on the street. Feel God's love surround you. Feel God's presence with you. Breathe it in, breathe it out. This time, as you breathe out, I invite you to breathe out whatever seems to be in the way of being able to sit with God, know God's presence. Breathe it out, let it go, center deeper. Again, I invite you to breathe God's love for you in and out, surrounding you, holding you. And again, this time as you breathe out, let go, center deeper. And this last time, we just share together this solitude of God's presence. Breathe God in, breathe out. Amen. Dear friends in Christ, grace to you and peace this beautiful Sunday morning. Half of this group, I think, knows who I am. I'm a member of this church. I do interim ministry as my livelihood, and so in the last 5 years, I have not been around very much. I think I exchanged pulpits when Pastor Jason was here about 4 years ago, and I think that was the last time I was here. And then dabbled a little bit. Jill has been the representative of our family who actually stays here a lot more. I was last at Epiphany in Conyers. But anyway, I have been doing interim ministry, and through your church council and through the synod, and I've been graciously assigned to be with you all, and it's good to be back. Good to be here with very familiar faces. One of the dangers of doing an interim in a place you know very well is I know where some of the skeletons are, and that's always kind of tricky because it's still that kind of sense that we need to get to know how each other works. And so for the first month or so, we're going to be doing that. Also, tomorrow evening, it will be the last of the mission, what do we call that? The mission... Mission listening. Thank you. Whew. It's always good to have an audience who helps. Anyway, the last of the mission listening stations that you've done. You did listening to God, listening to each other, and now you're going to be doing listening to the neighborhood. And the hopes for this is that you've been doing all this work that will really help you in setting up and preparing for the call committee, because you've been doing the kind of work that would normally have to do to precede that. And tomorrow night, everyone is welcome as Rebecca Calloway will guide us through steps to listen and learn more about how we sit in this community. And so many of us don't live here anymore. You know, we live elsewhere. We commute in. Some of us don't live very far away. But anyway, that's the next step. And that's also part of what it means to be church this day. What is Amazing Grace's mission? Is it just comfort for the comfortable or for the suffering? Or is it to be part of this larger community of faith that we're all about? One of the things about being an interim pastor that I really like about Jesus is that you know that Jesus was probably the first interim pastor, because he never had his own church or his own synagogue. He just kept wandering around from place to place, teaching here, teaching there. Did a lot of his teaching around the Sea of Galilee. And of course, what he was teaching was he was really teaching how to practice, how to live the presence of God. And he got trouble from the church of his day. Now, it's really easy to say it was the Jews who did that, but it was his church. It was his, that's who he belonged to. Those were his people. And of course, if we think about it, we all get trouble when we get so stuck in our own need for having church this way or this special thing that you can't ever change. And of course, Jesus was giving grace away free, if you want to think about it. For whoever would listen, whoever had need. Today, in our gospel, he's up in the region of Tyre and Sidon. Say that 5 times fast and see what you end up saying. So he's up in this area, and this is up in northwestern Lebanon, if you think about it. It's almost Lebanon and Turkey. That's on the Mediterranean coast. Now, this is about as far away from Jerusalem as you can get. Now, he said he was up there to reach and save the lost children of Israel, but this is a Roman community. This is a community that exports and imports, a big Roman port. There are so many people and so many different religions there. It's like, and what's he doing there? And also one of the things you have to remember that in this day and age, now we think we get stuck, you know, like, well, we're Lutherans and you're not, or we're Baptists and you're not, or we're this ethnicity and you're not. In Jesus' day, the tribalism and the cultism, if you would say, are very, very much harder in place than we have any sense of in this country. If you were a Jew, you were a good Jew and you had nothing to do with other people. If you were some other religion, you usually stayed in your own clan, because in your own clan, in your own tribe, that was safe. So here's Jesus with this tribe of the disciples marching on up into Tyre and Sidon in this truly metropolitan, at least for that day and age, area. And this Canaanite woman shows up. Now, I don't know how they knew she was a Canaanite. I think she had everybody carried, name tags. Hi, I'm Craig. I'm a Canaanite. More than likely, it was how you dressed. But here is this very tribal group of disciples who really, even though Jesus talks to anybody and everybody, who really kind of think, well, it's just our little group, It's just us, and we're the most important. We have the true religion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's marching along, and my sense is that they're just marching along. Jesus is talking. They're all talking. They're doing this thing. We're going to march around the table here. And out in the back, there's the Canaanite woman. And she's emphatic. She says, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." And then he does a very un-Jesus thing. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't even acknowledge her existence. It's one of the most bizarre healing texts in the New Testament. Now, this is a mother, and she's there, what? To help her daughter who's sick. In those days and age, to be sick or chronically ill was often to be thought of as having a demon. Somebody whose spirit was crushing your spirit of life, and it was in control of you. So that's why she's asking him to cast this demon, this illness out of her. But it's bizarre. He doesn't say anything. And so he stays speechless, and of course you got the disciple bubbas here, and they're getting closer and more protective, and they're going, "Send her away, send her away. She keeps shouting at us, And then of course he does this strange answer: "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she comes and she kneels down before him. I would kneel down, but then you can't see me. And she says, "Lord, help me." And there's this bizarre conversation. It's not fair to take away the children's food and throw them before the dogs. Talk about an insult. And then she says, "Yes, Lord, even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." And Jesus answers, "Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish." And her daughter was healed instantly. Well, what is this woman doing? If any of you who are parents, and this is in a day and age without such a thing as a modern hospital, without such a thing as modern doctors and medicine, that your only hope was a spiritual healer, your only hope was someone who had some healing power, and she knew Jesus had this power. It's like a mama bear protecting her cubs. She's doing the only thing she could do. Probably the only hope she has. And who's Jesus teaching here? She's not teaching her because he hears her, he gives her the grace she needs. He's teaching his disciples. His disciples who are in their tribalism, who are in their, this is the only way we can do it, who, as a Canaanite woman, she probably came with head uncovered. A good Jewish woman in that era would not ever do something like that. She was speaking loud and being noisy in public. That is also something that women didn't do in that era. She's breaking all the rules as my microphone goes sliding down to my ankles. She's breaking all the rules of female in that day and age. And their answer is to send her away. And Jesus' final answer is she belongs. She is a child of God. She belongs. So that's the question before us always, is how do we, as a church, learn that lesson and truly become welcoming communities of faith? And it's easier said than done, right? Because last night it was fun being here at the fish fry, and there was all these clusters of people talking to each other and enjoying each other. But we enjoy each other, we enjoy each other so well that when a stranger comes in, yes, we welcome them, but they're very aware that we all know each other. And how do you break into that? It takes time to, and to be truly welcoming and truly gracious about that. We have to always have that in mind. One of the beauties about being members of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America is that we finally gotten to the place where when we say everybody is included, we mean everybody is included in the grace of God. That means whatever race or creed you are, whatever ethnicity you might be, whatever sexual orientation you are welcome into this presence of God. That if we are going to say God's love is unconditional, we're going to mean God's love is unconditional. And if you belong, everyone belongs. Everyone is welcome to the table. That's what Jesus is talking in this bizarre parable. Or gospel, anyway. And that's what he calls us to do. To step out of our comfort zone, to step out of our Lutheranism. I'm an old Lutheran, but yet we have some really basics that say all are welcome. To step out of our suburbanism, to step out of our comfort zone, to truly share the grace of God, as Jesus calls us all to do, and as Jesus showed us in his whole life so very graciously. Amen.